Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. I'm excited for today. It's actually, I woke up feeling very refreshed and renewed today. And so I'm actually really excited that I chose today to do 3 podcast episodes. So you're going to get back to back to back. The next 3 episodes, I will have the same outfit on, same hair, same kind of thing, right? So just so you know, those of you watching YouTube, it's going to be the same thing. It'll be fine. It'll be great. So this first episode for today, I want to talk about, I actually just want to share this interesting story because I always love kind of the realizations that come through in kind of like mundane ways, right? Just these interesting little connections that come up. This is how my brain works, so you just welcome to the show. So we're going to talk about, I'm going to share with you a story about how my pool is now crystal clear. Crystal clear, right? So if you've been following along with me for any time, you know that we put a pool in this summer. It was an incredible experience. It was a growth experience. The whole thing was amazing. A little frustrating here, but overall, like in hindsight, it was a really amazing process. So we have the pool in, the concrete is in, and my husband was having a heck of a time keeping it clear. We're in Virginia. When it's hot, I mean, really anywhere, right? But when it's hot, the algae grows really easily. And so your pool can become this green kind of abyss without any effort, right? It just gets green. And so now that we're in the colder months, now that it's near the end of November, we were discussing whether or not we wanted to cover the pool. And I am anti-cover the pool because we've waited so long for the pool to be put in. And I love to just look at it. And we've got a little light in there, and it does a little light show. And so if we sit outside on an evening bundled by our little gas fire pit, you know, it's nice to just see the water clear, crystal clear with this little light show, right? So I was team anti don't cover it, right? My husband was team cover it because he was tired of trying to get it green, like clear rather. It was green, he was getting frustrated with it. We don't have a ton of trees that blow crap into it, but on the windy days, there is a bunch of crap that has to be cleaned out of it, right? So he was done with it. He just wanted to cover it and be done. And so I called a pool guy because I said, hey, we're shopping for covers. We're just trying to, figure out what we can do. And he came over and he said, oh, we can get this clean in a couple of days. And I said, you what? And he goes, oh yeah, we can get this clean in a couple of days. And he said, I really don't recommend putting a cover on it right now because it's going to drill all those little holes into the concrete. And since it's fairly new concrete, you could have some issues with some cracking later on. He said, I really don't recommend putting a cover on it for the first year. He said, not only that, it's going to be way cheaper for us to just keep it clear. And I thought, isn't that interesting? So being me, I was like, all right, let's see. Because I tend to have a bit of healthy skepticism, I call it. They came on Monday. It is now Friday. My pool is crystal clear. And they spent I think they spent the most amount of time on Monday and Tuesday because it was still fairly green and cloudy. Tuesday was actually clearing up quite a bit, but whatever they did to it on Monday, actually started to turn it blue. It was still cloudy and these kinds of things, but legitimately for less than, let's say 3 hours total this week, they got my pool crystal clear. And I tell you this story because isn't it interesting how everyone has their thing that they're really good at? That it's like no-brainer, takes them very little time, and you're like, man, and some of those things you're like, thank God you're doing it because I don't have the capacity to do that, right? Like I don't even want to learn how to do that. I'm just glad that there's someone who can do it. And I find it so intriguing because there's this line of thought where it's like, no, learn how to do everything yourself. Don't be dependent on anybody. Learn how to do all the things by yourself. Well, let me just put this in a time perspective, okay? It took them about 3 hours this whole week to get my pool crystal clear. Had me or my husband attempted to do the same kind of thing, it would have been double that time minimum. Because, one, we would have gone to go get the water tested. We would have had to buy a whole bunch of chemicals and try to follow the instructions appropriately. And then get mad when it wasn't working the right way, and then have to go back to the pool store and get some other chemicals because it just wasn't clearing up, right? Like, it would have been a whole lot more time, at least 6 hours, if not 20, for us to clear up the pool. And instead, we paid a couple $100 max for 3 hours-ish worth of work, and my pool is now crystal clear. And yeah, we could figure it out. We could chat GPT it all day long. And we initially did. The beginning of the season, when we got the pool, or the beginning of having the pool, we used chat GPT a lot because we were like, we're going to keep this pool crystal clear. We're going to do it, right? And then, because it was a lot of guesswork and frustrating, and we would get it clear, and then it would rain, and then it would be green, then we get it clear or kind of clear, and then it would rain again, and it was just really annoying to not have it look beautiful. And so it's just kind of given me like an extra love of people's expertise across the board, right? Everybody has something that like they're really good at. Not everybody charges for it, but everybody has something where it's like that thing, they get it, and you're like, how do you know that, right? And so the pool guy that we're working with, he was nice enough to say, hey, when your husband's around, I'm happy to give him a tutorial so that he can, maintain the pool and, use us a little bit less. And I was like, well, that's really cool. I love that, right? Also, right, there was an issue with our heat when we went to turn the heat on. We have utilized people of all skills in the last couple of months, and I've loved it. It's nice to know that there's somebody for that, right? And so we had our AC unit replaced a couple years ago. The HVAC went out, right? And then last summer, our Nest thermostat stopped talking to the HVAC unit. And so the AC turned off. It was so hot. It was in July. It was brutal, right? It was the beginning of July. I think it was actually the week of the 4th of July. And so I had said to my husband, all right, I'm going to go get a new thermostat. Maybe that's the problem. So we get this new thermostat. We have the AC people come to make sure that it's talking correctly to the HVAC unit, right? Well, then we go to turn on the heat a couple weeks back, and it's just blowing out freezing cold air. It's not heat. It's actually dropping the temperature of the house quickly. So we call them back. We're like, hey, what is the situation here? And I kid you not, for probably a half hour, he came up, he looked at the furnace, he checked out the thermostat. It took him about a half hour for him to tell us that we had to put the thermostat in a different kind of setting because we have gas heat as opposed to electric heat. And the thermostat just wasn't talking to the right system. And it's like, okay, that's annoying, but it would have taken us how long to diagnose that problem? I mean, who knows? I probably would have gone and bought another thermostat, right? Like, it just would have been this annoying thing that took up a whole bunch of time. And I know that when I pay someone for their expertise, that comes back, because someone will then turn around and pay me for my expertise. And I love that. And it's such a different perspective than I used to hold, because I wanted to do all the things. I didn't want to pay anybody for it, because there was the saying, why pay somebody when you could do it yourself? Well, because they can do it way faster than you. Way faster. Right? Sometimes I get my husband on board with this, sometimes I don't. Right? But it's just, I'm just grateful for it, because having this nice crystal clear pool is actually quite satisfying. I actually jumped in it this morning. Yeah, it was 56 degrees. I hopped in it because I was like, it's clear, I'm jumping in. It was freezing, absolutely freezing, and I quickly hopped into a very hot shower, but it was kind of refreshing, and I think I might end up using it as an ice bath this winter. Not that I really need an ice bath this winter, but it's fine. I like it. It's fun to look at. So, I hope you enjoyed the story for today. A little bit more lighthearted, but I hope it also kind of gives you, you know, a different way to look at things, a little different perspective here. So I know that this episode is going live on Monday, the week of Thanksgiving. So those of you who are here in the States, I hope that you have a very blessed Thanksgiving with your family. And I will see you all very soon on the interwebs. And I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you. Bye.